So for multiplying and dividing rational numbers, what you need to do is if you have a mixed number, you need to write it as an improper fraction. You always need to check to see if you can reduce before you're multiplying. So you may reduce up and down, and you may reduce on the diagonals, but not side to side. Once you've reduced, you need to multiply the numerators, multiply straight across the denominators, following your integer rules, and then go ahead and reduce your final answer if possible. So in the first example that we have here, if you're looking at 5/8 and 7/15, cannot simplify up and down, cannot simplify up and down. Diagonal, no. Diagonal, yes. A 5 and a 15. 5 goes into both. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 15 3 times. Since we've already checked it, both of them are positive. Our answer is positive. 1 times 7 is 7. 8 times 3 is 24. 7 over 24 is simplified. We're good to go. In this one, first look, 4/5, 3/8 cannot simplify. 4 and 8 can. They divide by 4. You get 1 and you get 2. Next thing I have to realize is I have a negative times a negative. So a negative times a negative will actually give me a positive. So I put a little plus sign there just to mark that. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. 3/10 is already simplified. Final answer. In this one, in most cases in class, we're just going to use our calculator. So you would type this in. I'm going to show you one example doing it by hand though. To make an improper fraction, you do the little loop. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so this is going to become 9/4. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is going to be 18/5. A negative times a negative will ultimately give us a positive, so you don't even have to worry about your signs here. And if you look at this one, 9 over 4, 18/5, you can't simplify, cannot simplify, you can simplify here. Divide them both by 2. So this is going to give you 9 times 9 is 81. 2 times 5 is 10. So for this one, you're going to get 81/10, or that would be 8 and 1/10. For this one, I'm just going to type it into the calculator. So we have 2 and 1/10 times a negative 1 and 2/5. Looks like I typed that in wrong, missed a fraction. So it's right there. Hit equals, and I get negative 2 and 47/50 for my answer here. Take a second, type these 3 in using your calculator, so pause the video and then come back and check. There you go, there are the answers to those. Take it over to the next page, which talks a little bit about dividing. So when you're dividing, two numbers with a product of 1 are called reciprocals. Reciprocal is taking your fraction and actually just flipping it. So if this is 2/3, your flipped fraction would be 3/2. And if you multiply 2/3 times 3/2, you get 1. They're called reciprocals. When you're dividing fractions, again, if you have a mixed number, you have to write it improper. And then you need to remember that division is essentially illegal, just like subtraction was with integers. So you have to keep, switch, flip. Keep the first fraction the same, switch the divide sign to multiply, and then reciprocal or flip the fraction that's after. Once you're there, you have a multiplication problem. So reduce, multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and reduce your final answer. Even though this one has a negative in it, I'm going to show you how to do it by hand. It's a positive divided by a negative, which tells me my answer will be a negative in the end. I need to follow the steps. I'm going to ignore the sign now because I've already done my sign analysis. Keep, switch, and flip. So once we're here, we need to simplify. The 4 goes into 4 once, goes into 8 twice. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7. This is simplified. Remember though, my sign analysis, it was a negative 6/7 for my answer. All right, for these last couple examples, we're just going to use our calculator. So we have 13 divided by 1 2/3. So you can see that here. Hit equals, and that's going to give us 7 4/5. Your calculator knows how to deal with the division process, so it doesn't have any issues there. 15.5. I'm coming back up here to this example. Half divided by 7/8, and that's just going to give us 17 5/7. Sorry, that was out of your sight there. And this one we can look at it. We have a negative divided by a negative. I know that's going to give us a positive. It actually just makes typing it into the calculator easier because then I can skip those signs. This is actually just going to give me a 1. And down here again I have a negative divided by a negative. So if I just divide, I know that's going to give me a positive answer. So 1 2/3 divided by 3, I'm going to end up with 5/9. And the last one, I know this is going to be a negative. And that's going to give me -2 11/12. And I promise I'm not breaking those windows. That's construction in our building. All right, there you go.